How to survive 48 hours in a nuclear zone. You're enjoying a sunny day in the open when suddenly it happens. A blinding flash of light illuminates the sky, followed by a deafening explosion that rocks the ground beneath your feet. You're thrown to the ground, disoriented and in shock. As you try to stand, a blast wave hits you like a freight train, knocking you back down again. Buildings collapse around you, cars are overturned, and debris rain down from the sky. As you try to look up, you see a mushroom cloud rising in the distance. Your heart beats and thumps like a misfiring generator as you realize that a nuclear bomb has just detonated. And then, darkness. Welcome to the immediate aftermath of a nuclear explosion. When a nuclear bomb detonates, it releases a tremendous amount of energy in the form of a blast wave, heat, and radiation. At the epicenter of a nuclear explosion, the blast wave is a force to be reckoned with. Within a radius of 4 miles, the wave travels at supersonic speeds, obliterating everything in its path. Imagine a giant blender that can turn buildings into rubble, trees into toothpicks, and cars into crumpled aluminum cans. The pressure wave can reach up to 100 psi and can flatten structures up to 2 miles from the epicenter. Luckily for you, you are outside this radius. The heat from a nuclear explosion is equally devastating, reaching temperatures of between 10 to 100 million degrees Celsius at the epicenter. This is hotter than the surface of the sun. Everything at the epicenter is vaporized, leaving a huge crater. Within seconds, anything within 2 miles of the blast is engulfed in flames, including buildings, vehicles, and even people. The heat is so intense that it can cause flash burns to the exposed skin from 5 miles away. But it's not just the physical destruction that is so terrifying. It's the insidious invisible force of the EMP that accompanies it, wreaking havoc on electronic devices, communication systems, and power grids miles around the blast site like a malevolent specter. Suddenly, cell phones are dead, computers are fried, cars stall, and the lights flicker and go out like a city plunged into darkness by some ancient curse. Finally, the radiation from a nuclear explosion can cause severe damage to living cells, leading to radiation sickness and death. Within 3 miles of the blast, the levels of radiation are so high that exposure for even a few minutes is lethal. Anyone who survives the initial blast, not that it's likely, would suffer from acute radiation sickness, which causes nausea, vomiting, hair loss, and eventually a painful death. Now you're in a nuclear zone. If you make it through the first 48 hours, you will survive. The first 15 minutes are the most crucial. During these 48 hours, your basic needs are shelter, safety, water, and food. It's a race against time. But if you act fast and smart, you can make it out alive. As you rise up, it's important to remain calm. Although it may be difficult, try to control the surge of adrenaline that will be coursing through your body. Keeping a clear mind can make all the difference. Next, if you're outside, get inside a building as fast as possible. Start running immediately and find a safe place to shelter. This could be a building, a tunnel, a subway, or a basement. If you're unable to find shelter, lie down in a ditch, ravine, bridge, or any other low-lying area and cover yourself with anything you can find. If you're already inside, don't relax thinking that you're safe. More sinister threat is looming on the horizon. A race against time begins as radioactive fallout begins to spread from the blast site, carried by fast winds that are beyond your control. The fallout is an invisible killer, silently and mercilessly spreading its toxic particles throughout the air. So, if you're already inside, stay there and don't go outside. The fate of your life and the lives of those around you depends on your ability to outlast the radioactive fallout that's spreading from the blast site, carried by fast winds that are beyond your control. Find a room that has as few windows and doors as possible, and cover them up with anything you can find. Duct tape, blankets, mattresses, even furniture. Make sure the room is sealed as tightly as possible to prevent any outside air from coming in. The more barriers you can create between yourself and the outside world, the better. The next step is to remove any clothing that may have been exposed to radioactive particles and take a shower if possible. This will help to remove any radioactive particles that may be on your skin or clothing. If you can't take a shower, use a damp cloth to wipe down your skin and hair. While removing your clothes and showering may not be the most glamorous part of surviving a nuclear blast, it's definitely necessary. Think of it as a DIY spa day. minus the fluffy bathrobe and cucumber slices. The radioactive fallout from the blast can damage your lungs if inhaled or ingested, so it's time to unleash your inner ninja and cover your mouth and nose. If you have a mask, use it, but if you can't find one, grab the first thing you can wrap around your face. A t-shirt, a towel, or even your underwear. No one's judging. Just make sure it covers your mouth and nose completely. Keep it on like your life depends on it, because, well, it kinda does. As radiation levels in the air keep rising, you need to protect yourself as much as possible. Cover your entire body to minimize your exposure to radiation. If you don't have a radiation suit, find any kind of protective gear you can, like raincoats or garbage bags. Even wrapping yourself in wet towels or blankets can help reduce radiation exposure. Next, secure clean water. If you have bottled or stored water, use that instead of drinking water from open sources. Immediately fill any available containers with water and cover them. Avoid using tap water as it may be contaminated. Remember to ration your water supply to make it last longer. To ensure your survival, it's important to consider your food options. Ration your store of food carefully and choose non-perishable items like canned goods, granola bars, and nuts. Avoid cooking, as it may not be safe due to the risk of radioactive contamination. Packaged foods, including those in plastic containers, are a good option, but make sure to clean and wipe the surfaces to remove any potential contamination. It's important to stay updated on the situation. Search for any communications means, such as a battery-powered radio or working mobile phone with a charger. Tune in to local emergency broadcasts for updates on the situation and any instructions from authorities. Be patient, as it may take time for reliable information to become available. Once safety and sustenance are secured, it is time to combat fear and idleness. Take stock of your supplies and plan your rationing. Get creative. You might finally have time to read a book or start a DIY project, like making a Geiger counter. Keep your mind occupied and focused on the positive. When the time comes to leave your shelter, it's important to make sure you do safely and strategically. You may decide to stay put and wait for the radioactive mutants to come to you. Just kidding. Mutants probably aren't real. Or are they? In any case, the decision of whether to stay or go is a serious one, so take the time to weigh your options carefully. Prepare before leaving by packing essential supplies such as food, water, medication, and a first aid kit. If possible, bring a Geiger counter to detect high radiation areas. Wear protective clothing and cover your face. Listen for updates on radiation levels and wait for the all-clear signal. Before departing, you know which direction to take and listen for safer zones and evacuation routes. Plan your route carefully and head in the direction opposite to the blast. Always prioritize your safety and avoid unnecessary risks. While the thought of a nuclear disaster is a scary one, knowing what to do in the first 48 hours can mean the difference between life and death. So stay informed, stay prepared, and most importantly, stay safe. But for now, let's just hope that we never have to put any of this knowledge into practice. And if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, just remember to take a deep breath and maybe treat yourself to some comfort food or a good movie. After all, laughter may be the best medicine, but a little bit of chocolate never hurts either.